what does EQT offer to do?
If a private water supply is identified, what we do is, first off, we send the mailer to find out if you do have a private water supply. If you say you do, we then offer water testing for that. And what that is a third party sampling company will come out, they'll coordinate with the landowner, with the water supply owner, and they'll test for the water quality and the quantity that the water supply produces. We're actually required to provide those results to the state, so it's not just us saying we're gonna do it, it's a requirement for what we do. So, when you get those water questionnaires, if you have concerns for your water supplies, get those filled in. Typically, it's our surveyors that'll take care of that. So in this area, I believe it's Keystone Consultants. If you have property and you received a questionnaire from Keystone Consultants and you have concerns over your water supply, get that back into them. That way, we know that water supply's there and it's a concern if folks would like that tested. So if we don't know, we can't test it. Next slide. Some of the other permits we're required to get, and the first one I'm going to touch on, it does affect this well site, is the OG-24. That's the actual form number for the alternate casing and cementing permit with the Department of Environmental Protection. The Sarah site's actually a new one for me. We have one approval so far for how we're going to case these wells through the freshwater zone and above the mine voiding area. So what we do is we coordinate with DEP, say, your regulations say X, Y, Z, we want to do A, B, C. They review it, we work with the drilling inspectors to do this. In this case, freshwater casing is supposed to extend 50 feet below the base of the freshwater. But what we would have if we did that, we would then be into an open mine void. So we're gonna set that casing a little more shallow. DEP is gonna monitor as we drill these, and that's one of the types of approvals that we had to get for this site. So the regulations say how we have to case, especially through freshwater zones, through coal, so on and so forth. If we vary in any way from that, we have to apply for approval for every single well with this OG-24. The OG-71, request for approval of alternate waste management practices. Why that's relevant to this site, if we use a recycled water above ground storage tank, that's the permit we'd have to get for that approval. So there's two types there. We have the overall process that we have to get approved, and if we use the same process at a site, it's a simpler form. Think of it, if you think tax terms, there's the 1040A for if you have a lot of stuff to do with the 1040EZ, if you're just going nice and quick, kind of the same concept there. Site safety and security is not my area of expertise. I will not pretend to do so I'm going to touch on some of this real quick. The important thing there, especially for the township folks, is Scott Held.
Yeah, if I could, Scott Held from the company has given detailed presentations on this to the board in the past. He is also hopefully connected in on the Zoom call. So John will give kind of a more general overview, but if anybody has any questions, Mr. Held is available to answer those.
Could you back up for 1 second on the testing of the water supply?
Sure. Or can we hit that at the end?
I just don't want to forget, I'm afraid I'll forget.
Okay.
You state your
You
name.
state your name.
Lauren Conley, you said you're gonna test the water, would that be prior to drilling, or is it periodic testing? How often do you test the water? I mean, if you go and test it once and say, yes, it's good, then a year down the road, they could be having,
Right, and how this will work is basically, we want to get out ahead of that testing as early as we can. Okay, so we don't want to do exactly what you said, just test once and cool, we're done.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, because then, the presumption of liability is on us. If somebody does complain of a water supply issue, it's up to us to prove that it wasn't us. So if we only have one test result, for our defense, that's not good. And secondly, it's not a neighborly thing to do. So we try to get out ahead of that as far as we can. So these wells are scheduled to be drilled next year. So we've already sent out water supply questionnaires. I believe we've sent even more water supply questionnaires, because this is a pad that we permitted a well, and then our development plan came. So hopefully, I don't know the status of the water sampling now. It's not my area of expertise, so I apologize for that. But you should be hearing from someone soon on that third-party sampling. And if you haven't, let me know after the meeting and I'll look into it to make sure we're starting that process.
But my question is, how often do you test the water after the drilling starts?
After, I honestly don't know. I'd have to look into that for you. So I don't know if you would know.
Sometimes they do post-drilling sampling. Yeah, it's definitely if there's a complaint or any sort of question about your water supply, you'll have information on how to get in contact with us, specifically to make water, to discuss terms of your water supply, or contacting the DEP, and then they would let us know that your water supply needs to be tested.
So
But that,
you don't do periodic testing on people, on those wells or?
no. Yeah, there would have to be a complaint.
Never be answered.
I read all yours,
Yeah.
every one of them,
Correct.
and was tagged. And
I
not,
brought the complaints.
and not you.
And they never answered them.
No,
The next slide
yeah.
talks about some of the site safety and security.
no.
Per the ordinance requirements, this site will be fenced. There will be a guard booth on location during active operations, which is, drilling, or top set, horizontal drilling, hydraulic fracturing. When the guard isn't on site, the site will be gated and locked. And I'm confusing myself with my own notes. So, I'm just gonna go to the next slide. Two contractor security firms, LPS and RHS, are used for security at our locations. During active operations, security is on site 24/7. They'll be posted at the entrance to the well site, and they limit access to only essential personnel. There is a sign-in, sign-out process for our well sites, so security will track that. The well sites are very well marked for no unauthorized entrance. And there's an entrance sign outside at the access road that meets PA Act 9 requirements that shows the operator name, to be EQT Production Company, the site name, in this case it's the Sarah Well site, the 911 address, which was given earlier, I can't remember it off the top of my head. The municipality, so Union Township County is Washington, the coordinates of the well site, and our 24-hour emergency contact number. During active operations, the site is monitored by a service company manager and an on-site representative, so that is a EQT person on the well site monitoring activities. Operations of the site are monitored electronically by all personnel, and the operations can be monitored remotely by specialists at EQT Plaza who work 24/7. So there's folks that are sitting at monitors watching what's going on at our well sites. During production, when the wells are actually flowing gas, there's sensors and monitoring equipment that are installed permanently for safe operation of the location. They monitor for pressure, flow rates, things of that nature. So if there's a drop in the pressure, we know there's an issue. If there's an increase in pressure, we know there's an issue. So we can shut the wells in remotely if we need to and determine the problem. And all locations, production lines, so on and so forth, are monitored 24/7 by our gas control center. The emergency response plan that we put together complies with Pennsylvania Chapter 78 regulations. Chapter 78 in Pennsylvania's regulations are the oil and gas regulations, broken into two separate things. One, there's 78, which is the normal oil and gas regulations, and then unconventional wells are 78A. So we comply with those regulations.
And the wells into the Marcellus and Utica formations are unconventional.
Correct.
Unconventional wells.
Correct. Copies of this emergency response plan are available in a mailbox that is posted at the site. We also work with the township emergency responders to provide any information they need for that emergency response plan. The next bullet is the awareness level presentation that's available for first responders. We've done this a couple times in Union Township. There's an additional one scheduled on February 23rd from 6 to 9 at El Rama Volunteer Fire Company. That's for police departments, fire departments, ambulance agencies, hazmat teams, local and county EMA, municipal employees, and government representatives. So Stephanie Paluda should have sent out a invite to that. Any township folks or who want to attend, just RSVP, so she can order the right amount of food, and that's available to the township folks. Any emergency should be routed through the emergency 24-hour emergency dispatch center for EQT, and that number is on the emergency response plans. And I thought I'd written it down, but I didn't here. But it is in the emergency response plan. And we do have fire prevention and firefighting equipment readily available on the locations if there's an emergency there. So otherwise, that is my presentation.